On one August night in 1977, a radio telescope heard something it was never supposed to hear, and it never heard it again. This is observation, not explanation. This is Conspiracies After Dark. There are mysteries that arrive loudly and leave quietly. This one did both. The year was 1977, August, a stretch of late summer in rural Ohio, where a radio telescope called Big Ear sat pointed at the sky, not listening for weather, not tracking satellites, but searching for something far more difficult to define. Big Ear was part of an ongoing scientific effort known as SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. The premise was simple, but enormous. Listen to the universe, quietly, patiently, and see if anything listens back. Big Ear was not a glamorous instrument. It did not produce images. It did not record audio. It produced data, long printouts of numbers and letters representing signal strength as the telescope slowly swept across sections of the sky. Most of those printouts were quiet. The characters drifted along in familiar rhythms, reflecting background noise, the low, steady hiss of space, sometimes interrupted by interference from Earth itself. Nothing unusual. Nothing that required a second look. Until August 15th. On that night, something changed. A signal appeared, cleanly, suddenly, rising in intensity exactly the way a distant radio source would behave as the Earth rotated and the telescope's beam swept past it. It rose, it peaked, and then it faded. The entire event lasted 72 seconds, not because the signal chose to end, but because that was how long Big Ear could observe that region of the sky before the rotation of the Earth carried it past the instrument's field of view. 72 seconds. Then silence. The signal did not repeat. It did not echo. It passed through the record like a single breath, held briefly, and then released. Days later, the printed data was reviewed by a volunteer astronomer named Jerry Eman. He was examining the long columns of characters carefully, methodically, the way one reviews any routine data. And then he stopped. One section of the printout contained a sequence that did not belong. A cluster of characters dramatically stronger than anything surrounding them, standing out from the background noise the way a single voice stands out in a quiet room. Eman picked up a pen. He circled the sequence, and in the margin beside it he wrote a single word: Wow. The sequence he circled was 6 characters long. 6 E Q U J 5. Over the decades since, those characters have taken on a life of their own. Some have treated them as a coded message, a cipher waiting to be solved. But they were never meant to be read that way. They are not a language. They are simply the telescope's notation for measuring signal intensity over time. Numbers represent weaker readings. Letters represent stronger ones. Together, they form a brief graph printed in shorthand, a spike rising out of stillness and then returning to it. What made the wow signal difficult to dismiss were the particular qualities it carried. The signal was narrow band. It occupied a very small slice of the radio spectrum. In nature, most signals spread across wide ranges of frequencies. Narrow-band signals are far less common. They are more often associated with deliberate transmitters than with natural phenomena. There was also the matter of where the signal appeared. It was detected near what scientists call the hydrogen line, a frequency naturally emitted by hydrogen atoms, the most common element in the universe. For decades, researchers involved in the search for extraterrestrial communication had theorized that this frequency might serve as a universal landmark, a logical place to transmit, a logical place to listen. The wow signal arrived near that frequency. None of this confirmed anything, but it meant the signal could not simply be ignored. So astronomers did what science requires. They looked again. The same region of sky was observed repeatedly in the years that followed. Other telescopes joined the search, more sensitive instruments, more hours of listening. No signal returned. Researchers explored natural explanations, reflections from Earth-based transmitters, passing celestial bodies, instrument artifacts. Some ideas were partially convincing, but none reproduced the original signal completely. And so the explanations remained what they were, possibilities, not conclusions. The wow signal remains the strongest candidate for an anomalous radio signal ever recorded during SETI research. Not because it was proven to be anything in particular, but because it could not be proven to be nothing. It fits certain criteria scientists consider meaningful. It does not fit neatly into any known natural category. And it was never seen again. It is tempting to imagine the signal as a message, something composed and sent, something aimed deliberately across the darkness. But the archive does not confirm that story. What it confirms is something quieter. For 72 seconds, something passed through our instruments that we could not fully explain. It rose from the noise. It peaked. It faded. And it never came back. The original printout still exists, a long sheet of printed characters preserved in the archive, unremarkable in almost every way, except for one small section near the middle, a circle drawn in pen by a man who recognized something unusual and did not yet know what it meant. Beside it, a single handwritten word, wow. Beneath that word are 6 characters, 6EQUJ5. Not a message, not a confirmation, not a proof of anything. Just a measurement, a brief anomaly recorded by an instrument that happened to be listening at the right moment, in the right direction, at the right frequency, on one night in August 1977. 72 seconds of something we still do not have a name for. This has been a recorded transmission.